If you think self-care is like getting your hair done, going to a little yoga class, to the gym, and a bubble bath, as they say, you got that all wrong. Not saying that
Yep.
that's not good. Those are good tools, but that's not self-care. Self-care has to start from within and
Mhm.
has to, yeah, done completely different. There's a foundation that needs to first happen before you actually implement all of these tools. And we're going to dig deep into this today, because if you do not really address self-care from this angle, you're going to be stressed, you're going to be unhealthy. The doctors will see all issues popping up, and you say, but I have been going to my yoga class and I have been doing XYZ, and there's no change. I'm Heike Fallon. I am a personal high performance coach, and I teach self-leadership with the brain-based approach. And yes, self-care is a huge, huge component of self-leadership and a foundation of everything. And I got with me Shannon.
Hi, I am Shannon Passalacqua, and I am also a high performance coach, and I specialize in helping women. I support women in grief after miscarriages, and self care is like the essential part of what we focus on. Um, and we're gonna dive into that. But can I hit the bubble bath thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I have always wanted to like bubble bath. I've always wanted to be the person that like can decompress in a bubble bath. And I remember I had a coach who told me, well, if you're stressed, maybe you should try like taking a bath. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay, I'm going to schedule this in. I'm going to have my bubble bath and I'm going to do this. It stressed me out. It's it is not something for me. And I think there are a lot of reasons why, which we'll go into, but it's like yoga for me. Like yoga is not something that I connect with. Sorry, yoga community, but it is not something that I connect with. Same as a bubble bath. It is just not my thing.
Yes, you're hitting up right on. Self-care, you starting point is really, you need to know what works for you and know what you like, how you respond to things, because we're all different. Again, no offense to the
Mhm.
yoga community either. Yoga is a
Or
great,
the bubble bath community.
great tool. I've tried it multiple times. Great tool. Not for me. I'm waiting for Shavasana. I can lay down and that's it. But the key number one thing with self-care is you have to first know that one size does not fit all. Not everybody has to do everything. Just because somebody says, oh, this is so great, do that, that will help you, it does not mean that it will help you. You need to really understand and come in with a perspective. It takes a little time to find the right things that work for you and what tools you want to use. So understanding that there's a little bit trying out, finding what works for
Yeah.
you, and maybe yoga is your thing. And I have lots of friends, yoga is their thing, not for me.
Yeah.
And same with meditation, same with other things. Now, do a lot of these tools, as we call them, or strategies, have definitely be shown to be very valuable from a brain perspective, from a science perspective. Absolutely. Meditation impacts the brain, yoga impacts the brain. All of these things have an impact on our nervous system and our brain for sure. But still, we're all different and we all have to find what works for us.
Right. And I think the important part with self care, and we have talked about this in the past when we talk about values, is really understanding who you are and what is going to help you decompress. I mean, the point of self care is to live a life where we are connected to ourselves and connected to what's important and, you know, learning how to recognize when we are getting stressed. And there are different there are different types and I think levels of self care. So going and getting your hair done or your nails done, I think a lot of people, that's their self-care. Well, that's, yes, that could be a good like level of self-care. I would say like entry level of self-care, because it is, getting you to pause. It's getting you that moment to stop. But is it enough? And I think that's the most important part. Is it enough to reconnect you with what's important?
Yeah, and that let me jump one back actually, because you know we've been in this field for so long.
Mm-hmm.
What is really self-care, right? Self-care is really, to just kind of speed up anybody who has not at least at all thought about the term, but it's really about taking action for your health. And that means all areas, not just physical health, but your mental, emotional, social, financial health, even. So taking care of your whole health is what basically self-care is. And again, we're going to start from within first, meaning
Mm-hmm.
got to know that what works for you, got to figure that out. Values. We've done actually a whole episode on values if you want to watch that. Values are important. And then, as you said, connecting to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The connecting and understanding that I could be going to doing something, you know, for example, going to the gym or doing a workout, and my brain keeps going on everything,
Yeah.
and I'm not actually present in the moment
Yeah.
because I'm not connecting to the activity that I'm doing. And then I'm not going to get the full benefit of it. If I'm keep thinking and my brain keeps going and I'm not in the moment, in the activity that I'm doing, I'm missing out on a lot. So we do need to connect to the activity that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a break, as I always say, and scrolling to the phone is not a break.
It's not a break, and sometimes it is all that we can access. So
Yeah.
like for work with, and from when I'm going through a difficult time, when I know that I'm in grief or I'm struggling, sometimes I can't access anything else but to just scroll or just kind of zone out. And that's my self-care, because I'm in that um fight, flight, or freeze moment. And I think at that moment I'm in freeze and I'm just kind of letting my brain process things. So there are times when that is all you can access, and that is fine. But
With
yes,
the time limit.
yeah, sometimes.
I'm not saying that, you know, it's the question is what is the outcome, right? We always want to know too, what are we doing and what outcome do we want? So yes, scrolling when we're feeling exhausted, because and that's actually the biggest challenge, right? When we're tired, when we're exhausted, when we're stressed out, it's very hard to choose more healthy options than,
Right,
for example, scrolling. So I'm not saying that, hey, I've been there too, where I scroll because I'm tired. But the question is, how long do I do that and then
right.
shift to something else? Because knowing really, because we can all eat the unhealthy cookie and what have you, but how many do we eat?
Right,
Right?
right.
So it's really where we're shifting there, knowing really what do we want and what
Mm-hmm.
outcome do we want. And it is hard, and we have to also understand that self-care is hard. It
Mm-hmm.
takes work. It's not like easy. And the Netflix or scrolling is an easy habit that we can pick up, but it might not be a healthy one for our self-care. But it's
Right,
definitely helps us in the moment to maybe decompress for a second. But the question is, when do we stop there and then shift to something that might be more beneficial for our health?
right, right. And I think and it keeps going back to really understanding your values and understanding yourself. Um, because like when we got some bad news, and when we got it, I know how to take care of myself. And I've been doing this work. I know what works for me. I know what doesn't work for me. And I let myself have that night of just being like, okay, I'm going to let myself scroll, and I'm going to do whatever it is that I'm going to do. I also knew tomorrow I'm going to have to be on top of my self-care, and it's going to need to be the most important thing right now. Like, it's the only thing that I can focus on. So I knew the next day okay, I'm going to need to work on my journaling. I'm going to need to be super consistent with my workouts. For me, working out is my self-care when I'm present. um, I knew that being super dialed in with my nutrition was gonna be necessary, and being super dialed in with my sleep was going to be necessary, because I knew I was going to need a lot of rest to get through this. I knew I was going to need a lot of I needed my energy, and I don't have that energy if I'm eating like crap, if I'm scrolling all the time, if I'm not connected with myself, if I'm not doing my journaling, and if I'm not working out. And so I just knew from like, okay, tomorrow we're going to start this, and it's going to be 100%.
Yeah. So, which is, I think, also a fundamental thing for self-care is the decision making, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we are not making good decisions, that impacts our self-care. So it's okay to give ourselves a little, time where we don't do it, because the brain needs a little break too. And if it, again,
Mm-hmm.
self-care does take energy, but again, understanding when to stop, and healthy boundaries are a very important
Yeah.
component of self-care. So which we've done a episode on as well. So decision making, we've done one on that. We've done one on healthy boundaries. All of those components are really the
Mm-hmm.
self-care. And then we can implement the tools, like you said. Then we can
Yeah.
sit there and go, you know what? Little grace for myself tonight as far as letting go for a minute, but then the decision is really there. I need to set the boundaries of getting, going again tomorrow. I'm going to focus on it and put up, all the things that I need to, and stay away from the distractions that it may cause us. So it really starts from within with all that
Yeah.
clarity first, and then implementing the diet, the exercising, the
Mm-hmm.
meditation, the mindfulness, what you name it, and you just bring that all in.
Well, and the clarity that you mentioned is really important. Is finding the clarity of, what is going to work for me. And we haven't talked about, there's different types
Yep.
of self-care or rest. And there's spiritual, there's emotional, there's physical. So there's a lot of different types, and you need to understand what works for you, like we've said. But sometimes it's just a simple, I'm going to close my eyes for 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a full-on meditation. It could be just so you're not getting that stimulus and you're letting your brain rest for a little bit. It could be going for a walk and getting some fresh air. It could be going for a walk with barefoot in the grass. It could be going out in nature. Journaling, whatever it is, there's so many different types of self-care and levels of self-care. And I think what's important is to recognize that it's not just something else that we're adding to our to-do list.
Yes, 100%. And it does not have to cost a lot of money either. Now, there's a couple of things, yes, they're fine, they're good, massage or whatever,
All the things I just mentioned are free.
are free. So it doesn't, self-care strategies and implementation does not have to cost money. There's lots of options. And as we always said, starting small, finding what works for you, is really where you want to get started on. And then in add to it again, though, that when it comes to the feeling it's a burden to do the self-care, that's when your red flag comes up, and you
Yeah.
should really take a step back and go, wait, if you're dragging yourself to that yoga class because you think it's healthy for you, then analyze what's going on. Maybe your expectations were too high of the amount. Maybe you taken going exercising 5, 6 times a week, and that's just not fitting in your schedule. And the expectations and your reality and the schedule might be off. Maybe you're not enjoying it to begin with, and you need to do something completely different. So once you feel like it's not joy, definitely
Mm-hmm.
step back and analyze why and what else could you do.
Right. And analyze why it is that you started in the first place or what it is that you were wanting to get out of it. When I first went back to strength training, I was obsessed with, I hate to say it. I was obsessed with the number on the scale. And I just wanted to lose the weight that I had gained. That was it. I just wanted to lose the weight that I had gained. And so that's why I was strength training. And it was stressing me out more. When I was going to work out, it was stressing me out more. And it was just a checklist. And it took me putting the scale away, reconnecting with, why do I want to do this? I want to feel strong. I want to have the energy that I used to have. And you know, I want to feel good. I want to feel like myself again. And once I started doing that, once I started reconnecting with why I was doing it, now I enjoy strength training again. And it's not stressing me out. It's not just, I was to the point where it was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to work out today. And if I didn't, I would judge myself. And now it's like, okay, it was on my schedule to work out, but I'm not going to be able to do it today. It's okay to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been on because I don't like going to the gym, but I need to do a little bit more. And I noticed like getting it in without any accountability is definitely a little challenging. So I've been actually trying out different dance kind of classes, just started tap dancing.
No way, really?
I've never done
Ooh.
that. But
Do you like it?
I love yeah, it's hard though. Oh boy, it's hard.
Yeah.
But the point is, I wanted to have some kind of movement, something that challenges me on a cognitive level, yet though gets my heart
Mhm.
rate up a little bit. And so I decided to try out different things and see which ones I like. I've done the Zumba in the beginning of the year. That was interesting too. And so now I'm gonna go for tap and see how I like that. And
That's
just
fun.
my goal was to find some movement that is challenging, gets my heart rate up, but also brings me joy and fun that I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to. Now, I'm not saying it's not hard. It's hard. I
But
have
it sounds fun.
I have new respect for anybody who can do that. How do you move
Yeah.
the feet like that? But it's about also adventuring out and finding what brings you joy, and it doesn't always have to be again, the exercising that the fitness industry puts on you. It can be. That's why
Yeah.
it's so cool that pickleball got so big, right? So many people playing pickleball, right? And they enjoy it, and
I'm
it
starting.
and the big component of it though is that social health comes in, and that's
Yes.
really what is important as well. So it's not just going participating at a class or something, but also taking full advantage of the social life there, the community,
Mhm.
and really engage and enjoy that part, not just looking at the physical component. When I'm going, for example, with my tap class, the people participating all super inviting. I'm getting to know new people. It's a different
Mhm.
crowd of people I've never met before, and just that socializing, becoming part of a new community, sometimes can really be super beneficial for your social health.
And that's interesting because I think when we talk about self-care, very often we think of it as being by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And very often as women who are either working or staying home and taking care of kids or whatever our role is, very often we do need time to ourselves because we have people always coming to us and needing us. So there is some validation to, yes, we do need some time to ourselves and just kind of let ourselves rest. But there's a lot to be said about self-care in community. And that's why it's so important to have to have a couple close friends where you can go out to coffee with, do Zoom calls with, uh, but also going out and working out in a group class or doing group activities.
Group painting. There's lots of great art, doing art together with other
Yeah.
people. There's so many different options. Book
Yeah,
club.
there's a lot of community that comes along with that. And it's really good for our brain. It's really good for our health, our
Yep.
mental health, our emotional health.
Yeah,
The
actually,
community is very important as well.
yeah, and that's really the benefit of the whole self-care is really get into all areas. From your health, obviously, your self-care, your health, your physical health, your emotional, the social, all the health improves. But it also has an
Mhm.
impact on your productivity, has an impact on your self-confidence, your self-worth, because when you start doing things that that you enjoy and you accomplish along the way, so the self-worth increase and self-esteem increase. And one last thing on this too is it's not selfish to do self-care.
I know,
It-
I
it's
think
like,
that is it's so hard because we've been taught, and at least in the United States, that we need to always be going all the time and we need to always be helping people and we need to always be doing this. And we can't if
yeah,
we aren't taking care of ourselves. We just can't. Our cup is too full. We need to take care of ourselves before we can give back. It's like the oxygen mask
yep.
that they talk about on the plane. And it's easy to say, it's harder to do, but it's also really important to do.
Yeah, it's starting really with a mindset. You deserve it. You
Mhm,
deserve self-care. That's the biggest challenge with my clients is
mhm,
the shift on how we view self-care. And that has to do, I think, a lot with how we grow up. Again, like you
yeah.
said, in a society, it's all about going, 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 competing. And I mean, I'm German, so we do have a lot more vacation time.
For
I,
a reason. There's
I,
a reason for it.
That's right. So I mean, obviously, unfortunately, the system in the United States starts with what a standard about 2.5 to 3 weeks vacation for most people if they're lucky. Um,
Mhm.
it's not enough, but we can't change the system necessarily. We have to work with it. But the problem is to understand that growing up with not learning the importance of self-care, not learning what we can do from early on, has an impact. But it's never too late to get started. But at times the environment might be a little more challenging, and you have to become more creative and figure
Mhm.
out too, which I do with my clients a lot, to figure out how you can bring exactly those little moments in, like you said, during your workday, like a minute or two during lunchtime, implementing certain things that help you to consistently put something into your schedule. Because yeah, ideally you go for a trip and travel a little bit, but again, with
Right,
the
but we can't always do that.
yeah, but so the understanding though, but I think with that also, I mean, the other thing is too, in Europe, lots of countries, and well, definitely Germany has, for example, when you had an injury, something major, you go to an actual 3-week rehabilitation facility. So like you have a hip replacement, here people are expected to be working again within a week. Over there, it's like, oh yeah, no, you go for 3 weeks at a location where you do, your treatment for your hips, you do walks, they learning the self-care. And so I think unfortunately, in at least in the United States and where I'm around here, is it's not taught, you know,
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
it's not taught. So not too late to learn and implement.
And it goes back to really, like we said, it is hard. This isn't easy. It's easier to say it than to do it. But if it's important to you, which if you want to show up as your best self, which I think we all want to show up as our best self, um, it's really important to really sit down and identify what is important to you in your life. What are my values? What's my favorite questions? What's worth fighting for?
Yep, and everybody's
Um,
different.
right, exactly. And so I think that's, a good journal prompt if you want to just start there. What's worth fighting for right now? And, oftentimes it comes down to like my sanity. Okay, how do I get to that? What's important to me? And, again, like I've said, I like to go out on hikes. That's important to me. So making sure that I get that in. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and we all need to do self-care, but we all need to find our why we need it. Because most
mhm,
people, if they have a, health issue going on, that's usually where they start doing something. But
yeah,
we need to also start the healthcare now, sorry, healthcare, self-care, which is really healthcare, self-care now when there is no physical, issue going on, or, we want to do it proactively. It should be part of our normal lifestyle. But for that, we need to know the why, and we have to find the why. It's not the doctor telling us the printout doesn't look too good from your last blood work. It's really about finding and discovering that why that drives you to take care of yourself. And that might be currently something very different than a physical health issue.
right. And knowing when to listen to yourself, right? Like you don't have to, like we said, it doesn't have to be something that other people are doing.
Yep. That's
Yoga
actually,
makes me angry.
well, we're going to end it there because the truth is, like we said in the beginning, find what works for you. Everybody's different. Just because your best friend loves yoga doesn't mean you have to. Poor yoga people, I don't mean it like that.
I know, I'm sorry. Some
Love,
people really like to run too. I
yeah.
used to love to run, and
And some
then it
people
was stealing my joy.
and for some people it's not the thing to do. So the key is it's individual. Self-care starts from within, and there's lots of other videos and episodes that we've recorded that will help you for the starting point as far as identifying your values. Oh, there's a bubble again. Identifying the values, and digging deeper into your why, the decision making, healthy boundaries. So there's lots of episodes we've already covered those topics, but that's where you want to start, and then go through finding what works best for you, which strategies of the exercising, bubble bath, whatever, yoga, whatever you love, and figuring out how that fits into your schedule in a way that it's joyful, because it's supposed to be joyful and not a burden. And that sets you, definitely puts you in the right starting point to get more healthcare into your normal daily life.
Or self-care,
Or self-care. What did I say? Healthcare again? Self-care. See,
healthcare.
for me, that's the same. I think
It's the same
self-care is
thing.
healthcare. It's the foundation of
It
health.
is.
And then comes
It
the
is.
doctors after that. So, well, thank you. This was a great conversation again. I hope everyone took great points away from this and starting to implement, because that's what we care about. We start implementing one little thing today and build up from there.